Welcome to the Art of Succession podcast with Barrett Young. Join us as we explore the strategies, stories, and insights that shape the journey of leadership transitions and business success. No matter where you find yourself along the journey, this is the podcast where you'll find the tools to make it happen.
Once we got one and we satisfied that one, then, you're talking about the doctors. They talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so we got a lot of referrals. There were problems on an ongoing basis, and we did improve our product as we went along, but we had our clients tell us what they wanted. Once you get a little experience, then you realize, especially if you've understand valuation, you learn pretty quickly what companies won't sell.
My name is Barrett Young, and this is the Art of Succession podcast. My guest today is Tom Gledhill, a former business owner and broker, and the author of 2 best-selling books. He's successfully built and scaled 4 businesses, and he's written a book on his new Exit Plus system, helping other business owners scale and sell their businesses. Tom, welcome to the Art of Succession.
Thank you for having me, Barrett.
So I want to know, why the speaking circuit? I mean, what causes you to share on podcasts, to be attracted to come on the Art of Succession and talk to my audience today?
We're launching that new program, that Exit Plus program, and I want the world of small business owners to know about the program, because most of them are not aware of what is involved in selling a company, and they're not prepared to sell a company, and I want to make them aware, and the best way to do it is through the media, through podcasts, through writing books, through giving presentations to business associations and so forth. And I intend to do all of those things.
Awesome. So I know Exit Plus draws upon your years of experience running your own businesses, starting those and then selling those, and the mistakes and lessons that you've learned. So let's go ahead and start there. Give me a brief background of just getting started in business, maybe your first company, when you started it, whichever one interests you the most.
Well, the first one, just to back up a little bit, I have a degree in electrical engineering, and I have an MBA, and I started out in engineering and did not like it. Lasted about a year, and I got into sales. I was selling computers, and I did that. And for a while, and I was going nights to get my MBA. When I got my MBA, I went to work for a consulting company in the healthcare industry. So I became a project manager there, and we were installing a lot of IBM systems at the time, and they at the time were more interested in hardware than software. So the software they had on these hardware systems was not very good. So another guy and I decided we could do a better job than that. So we actually left the consulting company and developed our own software to do the administrative tasks in an outpatient clinic's office. Could be a group practice of a doctor, could be the outpatient clinic in a hospital, and we did the billing, we did the appointment scheduling and other administrative tasks within the hospital. So it was very difficult at first, because it was like trying to sell a rifle to a caveman at the time, because, what do I need a computer for? I've got these lecture cards. All right.
What was the time frame on this, Tom?
This was in the 70s.
Okay. So computers were very large and not widespread at this point.
Exactly. There was no such thing as a desktop computer at that time. In fact, when we did our programming, we had to travel 45 miles to a physician group practice. We had an arrangement with them. They would buy the hardware, and we would go there and put the software on it. But we did the programming there also. So it was difficult, but we made it. And then selling it was getting the word out, and so we made a lot of cold calls, and so we did okay. But what really turned the tide was in 1980 when the IBM PC came out. So now you didn't have to buy this big hulk of a machine that you needed a forklift to carry, Now you could have a much smaller computer that you could carry around, and that really opened up the gates. And so we took off from there.
And at the time, I mean, when you're doing these big IBM systems, how big of a doctor's practice would be able to afford something like this compared to the IBM PC that would now be much more reasonable?
It would have to be a clinic, a small. We were working when we had this government contract to provide management assistance to neighborhood health centers. So they had government grants and so forth. But to take it down to the private level, I would say you probably needed a group practice of half a dozen doctors. Because half a dozen doctors, even at that time, they were probably doing $1 million apiece in revenue. So you're talking about a $6 million outfit that could afford a PDP-11, which was a digital equipment PDP-11, which was a mini computer.
And shipped with no software on.
Right.
So everything needed to be customized pretty much.
Well, our software didn't need to be customized per se, because we covered the whole spectrum of specialists. A cardiologist had the same billing software as a pediatrician, for instance. But the people that, when you're talking about half a dozen doctors, probably specialists, because specialists made more money than primary care. And so I would say 6 to 8 specialists at that time could afford, the PDP-11, or would justify buying the PDP-11. They could probably all afford it, but justify buying it. So, but what we did was we tied the PDP, not the PDPs, but the IBM PCs together in a network. And so we used the network for, a multi-computer system too, and they all talk to each other and use the same central database.
Okay. So, I mean, I've heard Steve Case talk about this once, that he's like, you're trying to sell internet to a world that doesn't even have a modem, is what he described AOL in the mid 80s. So here you have this amazing technology. Doctors could really see huge gains in their billing and their collections and everything like that, but they don't know that it's available. They don't know what it can do. And it probably is like, well, I'm here to do medicine. I don't understand that. So,
right.
So this is when you, as the salesman, this is when you got bit by that problem-solving bug that entrepreneurs are just, we wake up every day looking for problems to solve. Is that?
Well, we knew the problem had to be solved. We had to solve it. And we were just bound and determined to be successful. So we made a lot of cold calls. And, that turned out, once we got one and we satisfied that one, then, you're talking about the doctors, they talk to each other.
Yep.
And so we got a lot of referrals. And then we started doing a little bit of marketing, as we grew. But, the survival years, you talk about a new entrepreneur getting in, the statistics are that at the end of 5 years, 50% of them are gone. They didn't make it through the 5-year period. But the survival period is at least 3 years. So the first 3 years, we were just trying to survive, and so gradually we started hiring people and we getting more customers. And, once we did that, it kind of took off. We grew faster and faster as we went along. But when I sold the company, we had 3,000 clients in the Northeast. And we had offices, all over. We had in New York and New Jersey, including all of New England. So and it took us about 10 years to get there, to that point.
Okay. So still doing software at this point, but this is now the late 80s, early 90s?
Yes.
Okay.
We were still, with software, especially for insurance billing, they're always changing their forms. So every one of our clients had a maintenance contract with us. So we had a lot of recurring revenue. So as you know, recurring revenue is something that really scales the company and something that really increases the value of their business.
And this is annual updates as the new forms release. You have to update them across, or you update it once and then push it out across 3,000 clients.
Yes, yes. The in the unfortunately in the different states there were different parts of it. Medicare was Medicare, but Medicaid was not Medicaid in every state. It was not the same in every state. So, yeah, it was a problem, but we were paid for it, so it was part of the recurring revenue. So we also sent surveys out. We also surveyed our customers probably twice a year to say, ask them what would they like to see improved. How can we improve our service? How can we improve our product? And we get feedback, and then we would work from there. So we had a well-run company. When I ran the company, I knew everything about the inside. But the difference is when you're a business owner, you're on the inside looking out. All right. Most business owners have the shades drawn. They can't see out. They don't know what's going on out there.
Too busy working to go talk to other people and
Exactly.
from the outside in. Yeah.
Well, I was fortunate enough to start. I went on the outside as a business broker. Now I'm on the outside looking in. And I had to know everything about what was going on, what industries were hot, who the business buyers were, what they're looking for in an acquisition, about funding problems, deal structures, valuations. You have to learn all of that at being a good business broker. A lot of brokers don't do valuations. I did valuations. I went to the IBBA school, which is terrific, and learned valuations and learned scaling techniques and so forth. But you're on the, so I get both. I had both sides of the equation here. I was on the inside looking out, and then I was on the outside looking in, and there are two different views.
So, what caused you and your partner still at this point have been running this for 10 years. What caused you to say, I don't want to do this for the rest of my career? I'm possibly going to sell this, but you wanted to start getting into business brokering. Were you looking at other software companies to acquire? Did they kind of pique that interest? What caused that shift for you?
I think there were a couple of things, Barrett. I think number one was we were having a bit of a problem with a partner. And that happens, over time. We got along pretty well, but I got a little tired of it. I think he might have got a little tired of me, and we were looking for a change. That's number one. I think the big aspect of it, though, I wanted to do something different.
As entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, I was tired of dealing with physicians. They have their own makeup, and I got tired of it.
And at this point, you've got a successful business that just keep doing the same thing year after year, incremental changes. There's no new challenges for you to tackle in a given year.
There probably were. I think if I had to do it over again, there are, it's obviously looking back, I think everybody has that same, feeling. If I could do it over again, I would do this and I would do that. Number one, I would engage the employees more. Now, I was a walk around CEO. I walked around. I knew everybody. I knew what their private life, and that was good. But we should have had more meetings, maybe bi-weekly or something, talking about what our vision is for the future, how we're doing now, and keep everybody engaged. I would do that if I did it over again, but I think there were things that would come up. We looked to buying a company, and we looked to buying a billing service, And so we did look at acquiring, but we ended up not doing it because we were so busy. Yeah. And so, yeah, there were problems on an ongoing basis, and we did improve our product as we went along, but we had our clients tell us what they wanted. And so we did improve that as we went along. Um, but looking back, I certainly would work more with the employees. Um, I would have a profit sharing plan. Um, I would do things like that for the employee. We did have a great health care plan, and we also had insurance for the employees. But I would take it to another level too. I think if I had to do it over again too, we had a number of women working for us, and if I had to do it over again, I would have I would have a daycare center for them.
And so sell the company to outside software company? Was it a consolidation? What did that sale look like?
It was a consolidation for the buyer. It was interesting. The buyer was a $250 million company. They were doing about 250 million, and they were in the same business we were in, and we were much smaller. And that when I started the company, I mean, I had the end in mind when I started the company, and my end in mind was either an IPO, which was about a 0.5%, probability of that happening. And I thought, a larger company would buy my company if I got it up to such and such a revenue. So that's what happened, actually. A larger company bought mine. Turns out that about a year later, a private equity group bought his company. So now I'm part of a private equity group. And then I think General Electric, it's hard following the sequence here. I think General Electric now owns my company.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what they're doing with it, but but they own it. Yeah.
Okay. So you're acquired by a larger competitor, adding this medical billing component, probably department just by acquisition. So you're already in the business broker space. Did you start doing that for a while and did you build a consultancy and focus on valuations, or what was next for you after that first company?
No, what I did was when I got out, I was a little cocky. I've done this. I can
Still early 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do anything.
Oh.
And so I really didn't have a good plan. I just thought I would do nothing for 6 months, which is what I did. I did nothing for 6 months, but I started thinking about what am I going to do after the end of a month, maybe, and so a friend of mine who was an M&A advisor came along and he said, why don't you get involved in M&A? He said, you've got the background for it. So I did. And the first thing I did was join IBBA and start taking their courses to get my certification as a CBI, Certified Business Intermediary. And actually, the courses I took through the IBBA were better than the MBA courses I took. I mean, they were superb. So that's where I learned valuation. And but no, I went out and I was a business broker, and I was just making calls. When you start out as a business broker, unless you go to work for a boutique, you start out the bottom. So I started out at the bottom, and at the time there was no email, so I was mailing 100 letters a week to businesses, and I got a directory of businesses in my area. And so I did that and started out and I talked to, probably the first year, I probably talked to 3 or 4 a day. So I talked to well over, almost 1,000 people, 1,000 small business owners my first year. And when I learned in the IBBA program that 80% of businesses don't sell, that go to market, only 20% do. I didn't believe it. I thought they had mixed up the do's and the don'ts. But when I got out there at the end of the year, I realized that 80% is a good number. 1 in 5.
A little generous.
Yeah, 1 in 5 don't sell.
Okay.
And
so I mean, just break down those numbers a little more. You talk to 1,000 businesses in a year. How many of them actually went to considering that and putting together a list price and starting the process of that? Not just for you necessarily, but just on average, what 1,000 businesses would turn into 10 deals in a year? What would that look like?
Well, yeah, I would say the first 6 months, I took deals just to learn the procedure. What's the paperwork you submit, and what is the procedure for doing this? Having a good idea that I wouldn't be able to sell this company. All right, so I probably took 4 or 5 of those. But once you get a little experience, then you realize what companies pretty quickly, especially if you've understand valuation, you learn pretty quickly what companies won't sell.
You raise your standards a little bit and the close rate goes down.
Yeah. So how many of those 1,000 sold? Gee, I don't know. Maybe 20 to 50. I really don't know. Because what happens, Barrett, is you learn to walk away from these people. You don't follow them and say, gee, I wonder if that guy sold.
Sure.
You don't have time for that.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to get a handle on if 1,000 converts to 20 that say, yes, I want to sell my company. 80% of that would mean only 4 actually go through and are able to find a buyer to kind of put some meat on that 80%. So, I mean, I'm sure the problems haven't changed significantly since then. What were some of the issues that you saw in some of these businesses that would cause you to walk away or say you want to sell your business, but there's nothing here to sell? What were some of those issues?
Yeah, probably the biggest issue was expectations. Their company was worth $500,000. They wanted $2 million for it. I mean, seriously, they got that outrageous in their expectations. Expectations was number one. Not knowing who the business buyers were and what they were looking for in an acquisition. So they had the wrong thing. They were good at the wrong things. Okay. They had some value drivers they were pretty good at, but the ones that the business buyers were looking for, they were not good at.
Gotcha. Just work on that a little bit. Explain that difference to me. What a seller thinks is the value driver versus what a buyer's looking at.
Yeah, well, it depends on who the buyer is. If it's a corporation, the corporation they're looking for systems that are, that only the top Oracle and Apple and so forth are looking for. And that's one of the things that corporations are looking for. These systems that are ahead of the game. Okay. And they're also
something innovative because it's easier for them to buy it.
Yes.
Than for them to change their own model.
Yeah. And they're scouring the countryside looking for those. The bigger companies are. They're also looking for synergistic systems. Synergistic products. Okay, that they can sell to their customer base. Okay.
Yep. We now do this. We already do this for you. Would you like to buy this?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can sell that to my customer base. And they're also looking for top management. Microsoft years ago bought a very small company for the president because he was very talented. He hadn't really developed any revenues yet. He was very brand new, but he was well known. Microsoft bought his company, and this individual became the CTO, Chief Technology Officer of Microsoft. So they're looking for people And then you got the financial buyers, private equity groups, and the office
Family offices.
family offices. They're looking for good management. They're looking for high value recurring revenues and things that they can scale because they're going to sell it within 3 to 5 years. And and then you got the lifestyle buyers, those people that were maybe given early retirement with a big corporation. What are they going to do now? They're 50 years old and they've got some money. They got maybe some kind of a parachute for extra money, so they got some money to buy a company. Um, but what they're looking for, they're looking for a job and they're looking for something that they can build and sell someday. They're looking for an asset they can build. So it depends really on who the potential buyers are. Now, for these small companies, they're all lifestyle buyers, unless they really have good products that the smaller corporations are looking for. Then you might have an $8 million company that's looking to grow. They're looking to grow by acquisition. So they might buy one of these smaller companies.
Yep. And a lifestyle buyer is going to have a lower price tag than just buy it and we'll figure it out later that a financial or a systems buyer would. Because if I'm going to buy this and run it and get my own payout, I don't want to be buying your business at $2 million if I'm only going to be able to sell for 2.5, 10 years down the road. I want to buy it for $500,000, as you were saying.
Yeah.
And so, had these owners, is in your experience, the 80% that can't sell their business, are they building? They're building effectively lifestyle businesses, right? Is that?
Yeah,
Would that be a fair assessment?
typically what happens is there's a $5 million gate that your growth companies, like mine was a growth company. I go flying through that $5 million revenue gate. The lifestyle buyers probably don't reach it because they've reached a point where in revenue that they're making enough money to have a good lifestyle. They have a nice home, they have a couple of cars, they probably have a cabin on a lake and a boat. They have a good lifestyle. They don't want the aggravation of, by employing and training new employees or getting a new location.
Going from 10 to 100 employees, it's just like, nope, that's not worth it.
Right. Exactly. And they've got a good lifestyle. And in fact, I have an ebook that's I've got on LinkedIn that I call my Baby Boomer Business Owner Playbook. And it goes through from the time an entrepreneur starts until they sell. And it really goes through and it looks at lifestyle companies, lifestyle owners. And so they get to that point and they just stop. Say it might be at 3 million, it might be at 4 million, it might be at 2 million. At 2 million, they could be taking, if they manage the company right, they can be taking out, $300,000-$400,000 from the company. With the perks that a small company, gives you.
So you did the business broker thing for a while. I hope that if you enjoyed part 1 of my discussion with Tom Gledhill, you can watch part 2 of our episode right here. We have new episodes twice a month, interviewing business owners with their own succession stories. If you'd like to be a guest on The Art of Succession, our link is down in the description. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, and I want to thank you for watching The Art of Succession.